Hey, so yesterday I made a video about waiting for your life to start, in a sense, opposed to living in the present. And today I kind of wanted to make an emphasis video on that, like a part two. And this one's gonna kind of address the fact of living in a state of survival mode more than kind of I want to say more than being not present, but they really do go hand in hand. They go very hand in hand. So, I want to start off by saying I lived in a state of survival mode for. Ignore the cat meowing. She's fine. She doesn't like being alone in the living room. I've been in a state of. I had been in a state of survival mode for well over a year, for almost 2 years, and it was one of the most traumatizing points in my life. It was impossible for me to be present at any point. And at almost any given point, I was constantly doing every single thing in my day just to get the task done. And then as soon as I got one task done, my mind would immediately hop to what the next task was that I could get done. And so even whenever I would finish all of these tasks I need to do, it would be wake up, wash my face, and then after I wash my face, I'm like, okay, then I need to get my supplements, then I need to eat, then I need to do this, then I need to do my makeup so I could go on a walk, and then I go on a walk, and then I come back. It was very robotic. It was always like I had to do something. It was in the process of doing one thing, I was thinking about the next thing I had to do. Presence was impossible for me, and this was because personally I had been so traumatized by something that my mind and body, I didn't feel safe in my body. Like my mind physically couldn't feel safe. I couldn't feel safe in the present. I couldn't feel safe in the moment. And so I find that something people typically do when they're in survival mode, whenever they are not able to be in the present, which I do want to sidetrack for a second, can be caused by so many things. It could be caused by trauma, by working jobs, by having to make money, by having so many different things. So many different things. I could go on forever. Childhood trauma, just all the good stuff, But, hold on, I lost my train of thought. Sorry, I'm gonna pause real quick. Apologies for that. But we tend to distract ourselves and kind of run towards meaningless different tasks, give ourselves more tasks, more distractions, more these, more that, whenever we are avoiding something in ourselves. Personally, whenever I would finish all the tasks I'd set for myself, I had nothing left to do, I would go on TikTok or doom scroll on Instagram, because I needed to be doing something to feel content. To feel content with even being alive. I couldn't sit in my own silence because I had been in such a traumatized state. I couldn't sit with myself. I couldn't be present. I physically could not be present. And that is the case for a lot of people who've gone through very severe trauma, the case for a lot of people who've gone through very severe things, things that people shouldn't be going through, and things that can totally rewire the way your brain thinks, the way you function. And personally, even lately I've noticed, I had a friend who told me that they were a very extroverted person, because me and my friend group tend to lean towards being more introverted. And so I'd asked him about that. I was like, I think I asked for an emphasis, or he emphasized on his own, I don't remember, but he's like, no, I feel like I lose my mind if I'm alone for this long. I need to be around people all the time. I need to be around friends. And I kind of called him out. I was kind of joking. I was kind of like, it looks like somebody's distracting themselves from their internal world with outer distractions. But that typically is what not being able to live in the present is doing. That typically is what we're doing whenever we're hopping from one thing to the other, whenever we're distracting ourselves with schoolwork, work, with hanging out with people, with going on social media. And the reason we become so addicted to these things is because sometimes we are so terrified of just sitting with ourselves. Because for a lot of people, it can be either traumatizing, or for a lot of people, like, they don't know how to sit with themselves. They don't know how to process themselves. They don't know how to process their lives. They don't know how to process themselves as a whole. And that's one of the, like, number one factors leading to not being able to be present in the moment, because you're not going to be able to be alone. You're not going to be able to be present if you can't sit with yourself, if you can't accept yourself, if you can't accept your state without being afraid for one reason or another. It doesn't work like that. I want to add this little part I wrote in this journal about my personal experience with this. It was a coping mechanism back when I was at my most traumatized point. I was, in a sense, waiting my life away. My life was a living nightmare, and I didn't feel safe to live in the present by any means. I would cope by telling myself to do this, then to do that, then that. It was trauma, fear-based. I didn't feel safe in my body, so I coped by filling my life with meaningless distractions, like attempting to fill an inner void with drugs or a partner or other things outside of you. I don't know how I survived that. Well, the aftermath of it for over a year, 2 years about. The years flew by in a flash. Sometimes I still feel like the same person. Alright, I'm gonna skip that part. It is a bit personal. I'm safe in my body now, though. Safe to live in the present. Safe to be me. I no longer have to wait until I'm okay, you know. Wait until I'm okay to live, to feel alright, all of it. But I would like to kind of throw out there now, 9 times out of 10 you're safe. You're completely safe. You're safe to be in your body. You're safe to be alone. And I want you to kind of sit with yourself and ask yourself, you know what? Why do I feel the need to be scrolling all the time? What am I distracting myself from? And maybe you might come to the conclusion that you get anxiety when you're alone, when you get anxiety when you aren't on these things. And then you have to ask yourself, what's causing that anxiety? Yes. Sorry, cat knocked something over. That's scary because I'm alone. I'm home alone. You have to ask yourself, what was the cause of that anxiety? What was it? Like, it could be something like, I need a distraction from myself because I feel this way. And then you go to, wait, well, why do I feel that way? And then you have to slowly reassure yourself that you're safe throughout the whole process. You have to be like, I can discover this stuff about myself. I can discover this thing about myself. I can keep moving forward. I can be alone. I can sit with myself. I can be here and safe, because nothing can hurt me for simply being present right here. Nothing can hurt me in any way for sitting alone with myself, sitting alone with my thoughts. Your thoughts can be scary. They can be, because they can lead to the craziest places in our minds, where it's like the one saying, I'm gonna say the most cliche thing ever, but the only thing to fear is fear itself, and that comes from your mind. Your mind is the only thing that can scare you. I have another video on fear. Fear isn't real. Fear is an excuse to give your power away. Now, I'm not talking for a minority of people who may be in physically abusive situations or something like that, in which case I would give completely different advice, but I'm giving advice to the people who maybe you were traumatized in the past, maybe you weren't safe in the past, but you're safe now, and there's nothing that could physically possibly hurt you. Nothing at all. And I want you to just kind of sit with yourself for a second before even trying to discover what causes the anxiety in your mind, what causes you to be afraid of not being in your body. I want you to just at least sit with yourself and tell yourself, I'm safe to be alone. I'm safe to just not fill my mind with distractions. I'm simply safe to exist in this moment. It's nerve-wracking at first. I know it. I've been through it for years. I've been through the worst of it, the absolute worst of it. But the easiest part, it seemed, the hardest part is that initial step where you put your phone down, where you put the excuse down, where you put the distraction down, and you sit with yourself. Maybe you close your eyes and meditate for a second. Imagine yourself sinking, meditate. Whatever meditating means to you. When you sit with yourself and think, I'm safe. And then you start to go into the details of why you don't feel safe. For me personally, I had been through something very traumatizing. I didn't feel safe in my body for reasons I won't go into detail with, but one day I remember just taking a very long shower and laying on the floor of the shower and thinking for a very long time on the topic. And for a few months, I'm going to be honest, I was bedridden because of how awful this fear was, because of how traumatizing this thing was. And I was always avoiding my reality, always. And the very first step of me healing, I've come so far at this point. The very first step of me healing was me laying on that shower floor and first starting by telling myself I'm safe. No matter what, I'm safe. Because in that moment, I was safe. The trauma was in the past. I could let it go. You need to, I don't mean to sound, what's the word? Forget it. You need to first realize that you're not in that situation anymore that may make you feel that way. You're not there. You are safe physically. You can step into your body. You don't have to put your idea of safety or your idea of okayness and things outside of you. You don't have to be like, well, I don't feel safe. I don't feel like content. I don't feel good. Like I need to be doing something constantly to fill this hole in me. The hole doesn't exist. The hole exists because you don't feel whole, because you don't feel safe, because you don't feel content. And the first step to being content is the first step to being content. The first step to being present is feeling safe. You have to tell yourself that. And then that's when you go into what caused the trauma. That's when you go into let me figure that out. Let me figure out what the anxiety source is. Let me heal that in myself. And I can't tell you how refreshing it is. So lately I've been doing this thing. It sounds a bit silly, I'm going to tell you now, where I'll imagine, conveniently I have a glass cup. I'll almost in a sense imagine myself as a cup. I did this example in my last video, but imagine a faucet of water just running in it. You're this cup. This is you. And it's just constantly overflowing. So sometimes whenever I might want to walk or something and I'm feeling in my head, I'll be hold on, wait. And I'll literally envision this stream of water just pouring into me and filling me up. To make me feel whole, to make me feel content in a way, because contentment, safety, presence is always going to come from within. Nothing outside of you can save you. As scary as it is, nobody can save you. Nobody can save you from your fear. They can provide temporary comfort. Things outside of you can provide temporary comfort, but the wholeness, the contentment, that safety can only come from you, and it can only come from whenever you realize that comes from you, whenever you realize that you're safe no matter what. And I want you to realize that constant running forward, that constant reaching out for things outside of you, scrolling, that next post you're going to swipe on, that next task you're going to do, that next thing you're going to clean, that next piece of work you're going to do, constantly reaching out and telling yourself, I'll be content when I do this, I'll be okay when I do this. It's fake. You have to at some point realize that it's fake, and it's never going to bring you joy. It's never going to bring you that fullness that you think it will. You're going to do it, and while you're doing it, you're going to think of the next thing to do. And as scary as it is, you can't keep reaching out for everything outside of you to feel whole, or to feel content, or to feel safe. At some point, you have to stand your ground and realize, my feet are on the ground, I'm safe, nothing's killing me right now. I have to confront my fears. I have to confront my anxieties. I have to reassure myself that despite anything, I am okay, because you are. And this was, again, my biggest struggle for so long. It was crazy, but after a while, you begin to notice, after you reassure yourself you're okay, after you kind of begin to confront your anxieties, your worries, all these things in yourself that you're avoiding, because again, it's whenever we're avoiding things in ourselves that we go and try to reach for things outside of us, people trying to get promotions at their job, or people trying to get money, or reach goals constantly. I'm not saying goals are bad. Goals are cool. Goals are awesome. But whenever you're depending your self-worth, everything, everything in you on that, your happiness, your worth, your value, you, in a sense, are likely avoiding something in yourself. You're probably scared of something in yourself. And you could keep reaching for that next thing all you want. You could keep reaching for that safety, that contentment, that safety net outside of you your entire life. You can keep doing that and not spend an actual day inside of your own body, except for those brief 5-minute moments, maybe 30-second moments where you have that one thing that temporarily comforts you. And mind you, that thing outside of you that comforts you only comforts you because you tell yourself it does. That's a funny trick of the human mind. Safety, comfort, fullness, that comes from ourselves. And we have a silly way of convincing ourselves that it comes from things outside of us. And you know what that really is? Again, it's us getting that comfort, that safety, that fullness that we already have, and telling ourselves, giving ourselves permission to feel it through other things, through other people, through other outside circumstances. How silly is that? And you might only feel it temporarily too, because you're too busy running from one thing to the next. You're going to feel it for 30 seconds, maybe 5 minutes, maybe an hour, or 5 seconds even, until you decide to go to the next thing because you can't feel content. So at some point, you have to look at yourself and you have to realize that you have to face this fear. You have to face this thing in yourself that you're avoiding, or you're just going to remain in that misery forever. You're not going to have lived a single day in your body in all of your life. And one thing I realized, because especially when I was young, all of my life I've been a very content person. I've been a very present person. It was only up until a couple years ago I went through something incredibly traumatizing that took that away from me. When you are whole in yourself, whenever you are present, that is the best feeling you can have. I'm not kidding with you. Nothing else compares to being whole and present. Nothing can take yourself away from you. Nothing can take your happiness and your joy away from you. Nothing can. Nothing at all. And I know that because I lived that for the first 18 years of my life. For the first 18 years of my life. I could go through breakups. Sure, I'd cry for days. I'd cry for a week or two. But at the end of the day, I still had myself that I was full of, my aspirations to fall back on. Whenever you give your whole life to another person, whenever you give your whole life to this job, whenever you give your whole life to this thing outside of you, that's crazy. Your life belongs to you, not anything outside of you. Especially not an anxiety, not a worry. When you're whole in yourself, nothing can be taken from you. When you rely on yourself, when contentment only comes from yourself, nothing else, nothing can be taken from you. You can't lose anything. And I'm not saying don't find joy from things outside of you. I love things outside of me. I love friends. I love items. I love physical things. I love everything about this earthly plane. But I'm saying don't depend your world on anything outside of you. Yeah, you know what? Cry when you lose a stuffed animal. Cry when you lose something outside of you. I'm not saying don't do that. I'm saying, again, do not put your value and your worth and your sense of wholeness in anything outside of you. Because again, you dictate that, and again, our brains have a funny way of telling itself that it doesn't have control of it, and that other things have control of it. Your boyfriend has control of it, your girlfriend has control of it, this external circumstance, this money has control of it, this job has control of it, and without these things, I'm nothing, I'm empty. That's not freaking true. That's not true. That's not true. And I wish it took me a lot sooner than it really did to realize that. I was blessed. I was born blessed. I was a very content whole person. I didn't depend my everything, my sense of value, my sense of worth, my sense of everything on things outside me. That was my second nature that came naturally to me. I also consider myself blessed to have relearned that so that I can yell in people's faces about it, frankly. Not really, but hope you get the gist. But your sense of value and worth, again, should only come from you. From you, not me. I didn't mean to point at me. And I want you to do that cup thing, a little, water coming up on you, filling you up. I want you to feel full. I want you to feel full. And that's what kind of helped me get back into that. Feeling full and being able to be alone with yourself. And I don't want to be the person who's like, oh, meditate and your problems will go away. But meditation helps. It helps. I want you to at least try that. Give it 10 minutes. I used to meditate all the time when I was a teenager, and I used to feel great. A younger teenager, I mean. And I'd stopped that for a few years, and I was like, ever since this incident I've been talking about, I had been very traumatized, very anxious. For the first time, like a week ago, I really sat myself down. I'll meditate every once in a while, yeah, like a quick kind of overstimulation quick fix, but I actually laid down and I sat myself down and I meditated, and I can't tell you how amazing, how great I felt. And I did it for 15 minutes. 15 minutes. It's as easy as that. It's as easy as that. And if you don't know how, I'll save that for another video. And I want to quickly add that an important part about not hopping from distraction to the other and being able to look inwards is also retraining your dopamine receptors. You can't be on TikTok, you can't be constantly scrolling, you can't be constantly feeling yourself. You have to take a detox from that. Anyway, I wrote, I want to sit in silence more. Make it a goal of mine. I'm sick of drowning in noise constantly. I'm patiently waiting to get through everything, as if life is a task to get done. I'm trying to eat the world. I'm here to make it a goal of mine to meld into the silence. Thick pool of pure thought, pure existence without clouding and drowning it out with every possible thing. I want to begin to prioritize my time, make something out of it, make life of it, create of it. Creation doesn't come from constant consumption. You can't have too much of either. I want to do things like well, actually, that's a bit more personal, but I think we should all crave silence in a sense. It's frightening at first if we have issues confronting our own minds, issues with confronting ourselves or confronting pieces of ourselves that we're running away from. The hardest part is sitting in the silence in the very beginning, because you do get to that point where it is easy. And after 15, 20 minutes, maybe 30, depending on how reassured you are, it doesn't have to take any amount of time, but anyway, after a minute, after a little while, it gets so much easier and you feel so much better. And it's always better to start now rather than putting that off for later. You can't put that off for your whole life. You can't put confronting yourself off your entire life, or again, you're not going to live a single day in your entire life. You're going to die in the blink of an eye. You're going to be gone. You're going to die, and you wouldn't have lived any of your life. You wouldn't have had anything. Let me tell you, as somebody who has been both present for the first majority of their life and not present for almost 2 years straight, maybe 5 seconds, 2 minutes, 5 minutes of pieces of presence. Not being present is a living hell. Living hell. And I would confront my fears 10 million times every single day to not experience that again. To not experience the living hell of being stuck in an anxiety and a trap in your mind that's not even real, that I convinced myself of, and that if you're watching this video, you're possibly convincing yourself of. Anyway, I wanted to add this piece in here. But feeling safe in your body, feeling not depressed, feeling not anxious really isn't just a matter of just your mind or just your body. You know how people say, oh, take a walk and you'll cure your depression or your anxiety. Oh, take a bath and everything will be fine. Or the people who just talk about philosophy and pretentious things all day, and they're try to mentally write down your symptoms and tell you how to fix it, but that doesn't work either. It's a mixture of the both. You have to have both. I used to always try to do the mental tricks. I used to tell myself, well, I shouldn't feel this way. I shouldn't feel tired. I shouldn't feel depressed. I shouldn't feel these ways all the time. And then I started taking supplements. I started taking vitamins. And then suddenly I felt good. I started taking walks every day. combine that with the mentalities, combine that with confronting my fears, combine that with confronting myself and being alone with myself. These two things together, you need both the mind and the body. Both of them. It's a combination. You can't have just one without the other. You're not gonna feel good. You're not gonna feel good. You're not gonna feel good in your body. Unfortunately, we are flesh and we are dependent on our bodies and our minds. So I don't want this video to get too long, but just feel safe. You're safe. Everything's good. Everything's safe in the world, I promise you. Anyway,